You guys, today, Caitlin Clark got fined $200. Kathy, what do you think you are accomplishing by that? What kind of message do you think you're accomplishing by doing? You're not even making an example out of her by finding her an exorbitant amount of money. You are literally making a joke out of yourself by finding her such a little.
Before we dive into this courtroom of chaos that is the WNBA front office, let's set the stage. Caitlin Clark, the phenom who's reignited women's basketball, packed arenas, and brought millions of new eyes to the league, just got slapped with a $200 fine. $200. Pocket change for her, but a massive statement from the league. And the reason? A 4-word Instagram comment. Refs couldn't stop us. But here's the kicker. This isn't about the money. It's about power, image control, and a league that seems determined to silence the very player responsible for its newfound spotlight. Why would the WNBA target the player who's fueling its resurgence? Was this a warning shot to keep players quiet? Or just another tone-deaf PR move from leadership? Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll see how this one petty fine exposes an entire system of insecurity, inconsistency, and misplaced priorities at the top of the WNBA food chain.
Okay, and we know how this works because Sophie Cunningham has told us how this works. If you talk about the refereeing, if you talk about the officiating, on the InstaFace, on the TikToks, on the Twitters, any of that social media, in the public, in the interview, if you mouth it in the shower, Kathy Engelbert will peek in and look around at you and point at you and be like, you're fined. Even though she won't clean up the officiating in her trash-ass league? Okay.
You can't help but laugh at the absurdity here. The league isn't just enforcing rules, it's policing personality. Think about it. Players can't even whisper about refereeing without the commissioner metaphorically bursting through the bathroom door with a fine slip. That kind of overreach doesn't build credibility, it builds resentment. Fans want transparency, players want fairness, and the league wants silence. Here's a question for you. How can a sport grow when its leadership treats constructive criticism like insubordination? Drop your thoughts below, because this is starting to look less like sports governance and more like courtroom comedy.
So during the game, we saw here, the Fever players celebrating. I would assume based on the reaction that this was after the Lexi Hull steal and everything. And Caitlin Clark on Instagram commented this: refs couldn't stop us. Elite bench mob. It wasn't for the lack of trying. Glad they're having fun and celebrating like no other teams. Will she get fined for saying that? Yeah, she got fined.
When you're on the WNBA's time or the NFL's time or the NBA's time, getting fined, when you're on their time, criticizing the officials, calling out the officiating, I've seen players get fined for that. But when you're on your own time, well, now, other than Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark seems to be the two players that come to my mind of players getting fined, criticizing the officials, doing it on their own time, quote unquote, off the clock.
Timing is everything. And the WNBA picked the worst possible moment to make this move. The Fever were riding momentum, finally capturing national attention, and fans were celebrating the underdog magic. Instead of amplifying that, the league decided to turn the spotlight on itself, for all the wrong reasons. It's like penalizing a team for smiling too hard after winning. This moment wasn't just a misstep, it was a masterclass in self-sabotage. The optics scream insecurity. And it begs the question, does the WNBA fear criticism more than it values its own success story?
The hate is real. The hate is real, Kathy. I see you hating on us from a mile away, Kathy Engelbert. We all see it. You out here trying to find Caitlin Clark. You out here finding the one person who's actually bringing money into this league. What a joke. You're mad that the Indiana Fever are here right now. Y'all didn't expect us to get this far. Y'all really didn't expect it. We got Sophie Cunningham exposing the whole league agenda. Exposing them. Caitlin Clark mocking them all on Twitter, all on Instagram, everywhere, because they are.
Let's pause here, because this is where the irony peaks. Caitlin Clark isn't even playing. She's recovering from injury, watching her team succeed, and still manages to ruffle feathers from the bench. If that's not influence, what is? The league should be celebrating that its biggest draw remains engaged and vocal. Instead, they're treating her like a threat. It's the classic shoot the messenger syndrome. Punish the voice instead of fixing the issue. And in this case, the issue is clear: officiating inconsistency, not player expression.
What world do we live in? Like, I'm pretty sure she just said the refs can't stop them celebrating. This isn't even her going at refs. It's literally like if you say the word refs and you're an Indiana Fever player, you're gonna get fined. If you say the word refs as a Fever player, the word referees has to be spoken, cannot be said by an Indiana Fever player, otherwise it's a fine. And the worst part is if they got fined for celebrating. So I don't think, only she got fined, not everybody. There's other people on the floor, everything. She's not, like, they're celebrating, the timeout's been called, or the foul's been called, it is what it is.
WNBA definitely got to play these women more. You got to pay these women more. Because what the hell is a $200 fine? This picture right here is giving me Mom Made Pizza Rolls vibes. Mom Made Pizza Rolls and everybody. Ah! Caitlin Clark was fined $200 for her comments she left on the IG post. She said refs couldn't stop us, meaning they advanced to the next round despite the refs trying to throw them a curveball every game, despite having to play against the refs. And the league said, "Oh hell no, you gotta run me that. You gotta run me that 200. You got to run me that 200."
This, right here, is the heart of the story. It's not about a fine. It's about control. The WNBA is sending a not-so-subtle reminder that they decide what narratives live and die. But here's where they miscalculated. Fans today aren't passive. They see hypocrisy, they hear double standards, and they talk, loudly, online. Every time the league tries to silence a star, it amplifies the conversation. If leadership wanted discipline, they got discourse instead. And once again, Caitlin Clark's name is trending, not because of controversy she caused, but because of a system that can't handle critique.
That Sophie has got jokes. She retweeted this. That's really going to break the bank for her. Starting a GoFundMe now. Sophie, you got jokes. Hun, you got jokes. Sophie Cunningham Central, I'll donate.
Rather than fining players for being excited on the bench and for letting it be known how trash the referees are, why don't you start fining referees for not calling fouls? Why don't you start putting that type of energy into making sure the game is played better? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Because that would be nice. That would be nice if you could do that.
This is where it gets painfully obvious. The league has chosen punishment over progress. Every coach, every player, every fan can see that officiating has been inconsistent all season. Instead of accountability for referees, they fine players for saying the quiet part out loud. Imagine any other league doing this mid-playoffs. The NBA, NFL, MLB. Punishing players for celebrating wins and pointing out bad calls. It wouldn't fly. So why is it acceptable here? At this point, it's not even about optics. It's about trust. And when your own players stop trusting leadership, that's a crisis, not a PR issue.
What if this is the WNBA foreshadowing? We're seeing how you're acting on the bench. We're seeing how you're talking to the officials on the bench. We will tee you up. Now, whether I think that she deserves a tee for it or not, we're not even going to get into that. What if this is just saying, hey, we're going to tee you up if you continue to get at the officials, if you continue to talk up the officials, if you continue to show up the officials on the sideline, we're going to tee you up. We're not going to tee Sophie up.
You couldn't write irony this sharp. Clark says, refs couldn't stop us. And then the Fever go out and prove her right. by taking down the league's crown jewel, A'ja Wilson, and her powerhouse aces. That's cinematic. But instead of leaning into the drama, the perfect David versus Goliath moment women's basketball desperately needs, the league doubles down on pettiness. It's like watching a director cut the best scene out of a movie because it made someone uncomfortable. At this point, the WNBA isn't suffering from bad luck, it's suffering from bad leadership. Clip 7. So let's wrap this up. Caitlin Clark didn't lose anything from that $200 fine. If anything, she gained more respect from fans, players, and the sports world at large. But the WNBA? They lost another round in the court of public opinion. This wasn't about money. It was about tone, power, and a league struggling to reconcile its old guard with a new era of outspoken stars. The real question now, why?